Okay, today we're going to have a look at characteristics of entrepreneurs. What does a typical entrepreneur look like? You've probably got some images in your mind. But if you've looked at a number of entrepreneurs, you'll also probably have noticed that they're quite diverse. And that's because there is no such thing as a typical entrepreneur. They come in all shapes and sizes. And the good news about that is that if you don't think that you're much like the entrepreneurs that you've seen on the news and the papers, hey, that doesn't mean you can't be an entrepreneur. However, there are certain behaviours that they do tend to have in common. Here's a slightly frivolous view. You may not be able to read the text in that much detail, but if you look closely, you'll see that that tiny little triangle right here, the word pointing to it is patience. And what that means is that entrepreneurs want to get things done. They don't like waiting around for other people. They don't like waiting around for things to happen. They want to get on with it. On the other hand, they've got to have long-term patience because few ideas actually come to anything quickly. The point is that they're always doing something to make that idea happen. A PhD researcher I talked to some years ago said that if she had to identify any one question she would ask to people to determine whether they were likely to be an entrepreneur, it would be, do you get bored easily? And it's certainly been my observation that entrepreneurs like variety. They like to be doing different things. There are some behaviours that have been noticed as common to entrepreneurs. And you'll find this list of 10 Ds, which is just a convenient way of remembering them, in the textbook in Chapter 2. Notice what I've said here is that few entrepreneurs will have all of these traits. So when you're interviewing an entrepreneur for your individual assignment, or when you're observing entrepreneurs or writing about the entrepreneur you admire in your blog, think about which of these characteristics you can observe in them. Going into each of them in detail. First of all, dream. Entrepreneurs often have a clear vision of what they want to achieve. They know what it will look like, they know what it will feel like, and if they're good at communication, they can describe it to others and get them really excited about the dream. As I said before, entrepreneurs tend to want to get on with things. So that means they have to make decisions quickly. And one of the characteristics is that they are more afraid of missing an opportunity by failing to make a decision than making the wrong decision. And that means that if they make a decision which didn't turn out that well, then they don't waste time worrying about it. They go, okay, this is where I am now, let's just move on from there. Because they're decisive, they can't afford to get bogged down in complexity. If you've ever read about Richard Branson or heard him talk, one of the things he says is that he's dyslexic. Now, dyslexia means you have trouble with the written word. And because of that, he was forced to keep all his documents very simple. And he said he found that to be an advantage as an entrepreneur. Being decisive means that entrepreneurs don't suffer from paralysis by analysis, which simply means you spend so much time thinking about what's the right decision, gathering information, that you never make a decision at all. The other thing, of course, is they prioritise the important decisions. Some things are more important than others. Other things, let someone else make that decision. Don't make a decision, just see what happens. Entrepreneurs tend to be doers. They have what's called a bias for action. And again, as I said before, they're more worried about missing an opportunity than about getting it wrong. They're impatient to make progress. Determination. Entrepreneurship involves ambiguity and uncertainty, so things will never work out as you hoped they would. Sometimes they'll work out better than you hoped and you'll be pleasantly surprised, but you will experience setbacks, that's for sure. And if you think about it, that's the same with everything you set out to do in life. Whether you're trying to master a sport and make the first team or something like that, it's not going to go smoothly. So the question is, when you have a setback, do you have the determination to overcome it and keep going? It's related to resilience, which we'll talk about later when we discuss learned optimism. Dedication. Some people will call this obsession, but what it does mean is that you have to have a total focus on your startup venture in order to actually make it happen. And one of the biggest problems for entrepreneurs is they've often got lots of ideas, and it's really hard for them to focus on one idea because there are so many others that they keep thinking of. And that can be a big barrier for would-be entrepreneurs to overcome. You will read that entrepreneurs often sacrifice their social life and relationships, but hey, that's not always the case. Look at Mark Zuckerberg. He was known for being not a particularly friendly, sociable guy, but hey, he's married and he's got a kid now. So it's a stereotype, and stereotypes are never always true. Devotion. Being genuinely passionate about the purpose of the venture. Now, it's not always clear which way around this works. Do you work hard at something because you care about it? Or do you become passionate about what you do and work hard about it? Do you become passionate about what you do and what you work hard at and become good at because it's satisfying to be getting better at something? Either way, passion can be an advantage if it doesn't blind you to reality. And that's where obsession can become dangerous, where you're so certain that what you're doing is right that you don't listen to good feedback, and you don't listen to particularly feedback from potential customers. One of the things about passion is that if you're working on something you're passionate about, it tends to give you energy. If you're working on something you're not passionate about, as you've probably noticed when you've got to do an assignment that you're not very keen on, it drains your energy. Entrepreneurship requires energy, so things that give you energy are good. Destiny. Belief about what you are meant to do. Your destiny is where you're going in life. Now, psychologists have a term called internal locus of control. An internal locus of control means that you believe you are in control of your destiny, that you can carve your path in life. An external locus of control is the opposite of that, and that means that you think that what you are able to do is dictated by outside events and what other people do. So if you think about it, to be an entrepreneur, to start something new, you need to have a certain belief that you can actually make things happen rather than relying on other people to open up the pathways for your success. Dollars. This is an interesting one. Yes, you need them, but they're an outcome, not an end goal. And you get them by delivering value to customers and stakeholders. And that's why when we get you to talk about a business idea, one of the first things you have to explain is what problem you're solving, who you're solving it for, and why you think it's important to them. Because no one else has any interest in making you rich, okay? They pay money to your business or your social venture because you're solving a problem for them. Distribute. This is a way of saying that you share the rewards. It's really hard to be an entrepreneur on your own. Apart from anything else, it's stressful, and you need people who are taking that journey with you. It helps if you have a problem that you can share with other people who are on the same journey. The other thing is, of course, since you're not doing it alone, you need to recognize the contribution of the people who went on that journey with you. Now, the picture you'll see there is actually the founding team, early founding team of Microsoft. And that kid in the bottom left corner who looks about 12 years old is actually the very young Bill Gates. Another view of entrepreneurs is the characteristics view. What are they like? This comes from another writer called Kuratko, who's written a lot about entrepreneurship. And if you look at these list of characteristics, you'll see that they have a lot in common with the 10 Ds. In other words, people who have studied entrepreneurs have tended to observe the same sorts of behaviours. So, takeaways. Entrepreneurs do come in all shapes and sizes, but they share some similar behaviours. Now, as you learn about entrepreneurs, as you observe them, as you read about them, notice how they demonstrate behaviours that help them to achieve their goals, that get them towards launching the venture that they're aiming for, introducing the change that they're looking for. And get used to the idea of referring to these as you write your assignments. See you in the next module.